Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best. And the NHL playoffs start Wednesday, Grant, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the first matchup in the West, and that is the Vancouver Canucks, who win their second straight President's Trophy up against the LA Kings. And on paper, Grant, at the start of the year, I thought this would be the team that would be up there. I thought they'd win the West. They still have a chance. It's not...
Vancouver?
No, the LA Kings.
Oh, the LA Kings.
I mean...
Oh, you mean win the West in the regular season?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, they still could do something in the playoffs. They have a tough road ahead of them playing the Canucks. The one thing I do like, you know, 2 years ago when Vancouver beat them in the first round, they were young, they were inexperienced. Now they got these young guys coming back closer to their prime, and they've added two key players in Richards and Jeff Carter. Should Jeff Carter's ankle heal enough for him to be effective in the playoffs? If there could be an upset, it could happen here.
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Could.
Yeah, could. Absolutely. How can you argue that? But I think Vancouver, there's a reason why they finished first overall again. They're good enough to beat the LA Kings. They'll give them a good run for the money. Kevin BX has said we're more mature, we're smarter than we were last year. I'm not exactly sure what that means going ahead in the playoffs. He said, though, LA, we always have the most scrums after the whistle against the LA Kings. So this is going to be a grudge match. So, yeah, it could happen, Mike, an upset, but I think Canucks have more power, more depth than do the Kings.
I think the Kings, if they are going to win this, a number of things have to take place. Their goaltending is pretty good, but it has to be just stellar throughout the series. Number two, they have to get on track with that power play.
Yeah.
It is brutal. The firepower they have is awesome, but it hasn't really connected. And third, Grant, I think they got to get in the head of the goaltending. Luongo, try and mess him up. Think he's playing the Stanley Cup last year. But I think those are the three categories they have to play.
Everybody going into the playoffs is so concerned about Roberto Luongo.
Schneider's got a better save record.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He does. I mean, but they are going to start Roberto Luongo. For LA to upset them, Mike, they have to find a way to score goals. Daryl Sutter is going to emphasize defense, so you're absolutely right. It's that power play of LA. If that connects, then I think you could have an upset.
St. Louis and the San Jose Sharks.
Probably the most boring series.
You think so?
Well, to me, all the series in the West appear kind of, nothing really excites me like the ones in the East.
Nope.
Okay, so St. Louis Blues, San Jose Sharks.
Now,
Sharks played a little better in the last part.
Sure. And how many years have we seen this team just dominate in the regular season and then flounder somewhat in the playoffs? Maybe it's role reversal. Maybe them in Washington feel the same thing. But this St. Louis team has dominated. They swept the Sharks this year,
4 games.
shut them out twice, and that goaltending tandem of Halak and Elliott are awesome. Is it enough to shut that firepower down? Here's the one thing I don't like about St. Louis, and it's the inexperience factor and the fact that they've cooled down going into the tail end of the playoffs. Now, the thing with these teams, these up-and-coming teams, Grant, you saw it with the Islanders, you saw it with the Oilers, all these good teams took runs and were close. And then they fall, and then they come back.
That's right.
And that's what
I
kind of
think this is the formula the St. Louis Blues are on?
Yes.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. I kind of think Ken Hitchcock has got something ready for these guys, and I think they're going to be so well coached, ready for the playoffs. I think the Blues were so good, they surprised themselves. There was a bit of a letdown when I think they knew they had made the playoffs and they were going to maybe not finish first overall in the West. That's when they kind of went down a little bit. I think Ken Hitchcock is going to get them to play even better, Mike. So I don't think they're going to go all the way, but I think they're good enough to get past the San Jose Sharks. And the Sharks, I rather have the Blues goaltending tandem as opposed to Antti Niemi in
There's
goal.
a difference. Yep.
I think that's the big thing right there. And I think the Sharks are a little too slow. I think there's more speed on the Blues, and there is a little bit of experience in Jamie Langenbrunner and Jason Arnott.
Yep.
For the Blues.
Fair enough. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the other two matchups in the West. And Gina Cavelli has to have a big series. Up next, Grant, Nashville and the Detroit Red Wings. Nashville hoping 3 times is a charm. Last year they had a little bit of success until they ran into a hot Vancouver Canuck team. But you know, one thing I really like about this team is goaltending and defense. They were big players in the acquisition game, you know, at the trade deadline, getting a lot of players before then, toughening up, getting some goal scoring.
Adding some offense with Radulov.
And so maybe they'll be different. But with Detroit, you get that experience and that unpredictability that only Detroit can bring. And they've been banged up, but getting all their guys like Pavel Datsyuk back and Howard back in goal. Lidstrom and Franzen.
Yeah.
So
Johan Franzen. I don't know. To me, you're always leery of going against Detroit, aren't you? You're kind of, ooh, I don't know. They're still pretty good. But I think it's going to catch up to them. The first round's hard to pick. I don't think Detroit's got enough to go all the way, but to me, they have enough to beat Nashville. But I think Nashville's just constructed better right now. So I would go with Nashville here. We talk about Nashville. They added Kostitsyn and Radulov up front for more scoring, which was always a knock against Nashville. They've got a good defense, of course, with the 2 best in Ryan Suter and Shea Weber, and Pecorine in goal, arguably one of the best in the NHL. Best save percentage? Pretty darn close anyways, pretty darn close. They split the season series, so that makes it even kind of close. People say Nashville's defense is so good. If you take away Suter, or if you go beyond Suter and Weber, are they really that good? So how far can Nashville go with those guys? You know what I mean? Like Weber and Suter could tire out. You got Klein, you got Josi, I think his name is. So who knows? First round, got to go with Nashville, 6-7 games.
Then we have Chicago and Phoenix. Chicago.
Are you excited about that series?
Well, it's, you know, no, but the thing is, with Chicago, I mean, both teams are kind of questionable.
Jonathan Toews
There's the whole thing right there. How effective, if he is even going to play?
No, speaking about Toews, how, if you're doing your hockey pools, you don't really know. Is Daniel Sedin playing for Vancouver? Is Jeff Carter playing for LA in the first game or two? Jonathan Toews, and there's somebody else in there too. Daniel Briere, Philadelphia Flyers too, and James Van Riemsdyk for the Flyers too. So you don't know about that. If Toews isn't in the equation for Chicago,
they're gone.
Well, in the first round?
Sure.
In the first round, you think they're gone?
Yeah.
Evens the playing field a whole lot more. Maybe tips it towards Phoenix. I won't say they're gone. Chicago's still a pretty good team with Hossa.
Sure, fair enough, Grant. But I just, you know, maybe would tip it. I mean, what has Phoenix done in the playoffs? Absolutely nothing. And this could be, probably will be their last year.
They always play Detroit and they come close.
Yes.
They forced the Wings to a 7th game. But Mike Smith, the goalie for Phoenix, 8 shutouts. I mean, just signed a new contract. He has been outstanding. Maybe one of the biggest surprises in the NHL this season is Mike Smith in goal for the Coyotes. So I think without Jonathan Toews, maybe an upset here. With Toews in the lineup for Chicago, got to give it to the Hawks in 6.
Can anybody beat Vancouver this year in the West? That's the question I have for you. I mean, I said if there's ever going to be an upset in the first round, LA, if they get hot and play the right kind of hockey.
I don't think so, Mike. I think we got to give the Canucks. They're the top team overall twice or the last 2 years for a reason. They're still a good team. Couple of little nick players. If Daniel Sedin comes back, they should win the West. And you kind of want them. You want the best to go on. They are the best in the West. I think the Canucks should come out of the West.